The war in Ukraine is often seen as a European crisis, but its impact stretches far beyond Kyiv and Moscow. To truly understand its global implications, we must look east, to Beijing and Pyongyang. For China and North Korea, the conflict is a strategic opportunity, not just a distant tragedy. North Korea, long isolated, now finds a desperate customer for its munitions, gaining hard currency and technology. China, meanwhile, benefits from a distracted West, allowing it to expand its influence in Asia. Russia, in need, has found partners in both, forming a new axis opposed to the US-led order. North Korea supplies the raw materials of war. China provides economic and technological support, all while maintaining plausible deniability. This shadow alliance is reshaping global alignments in real time. Understanding their motivations is essential to grasping the war's future and its consequences for global stability. North Korea, once dismissed as a regional threat and often seen as an isolated, unpredictable regime, has now emerged as a pivotal player on the world stage. For decades, the country was known for its secrecy, its nuclear ambitions, and its tense standoffs with the West. But today its influence is being felt far beyond the Korean peninsula. In a surprising twist, North Korea has become a crucial military supplier for Russia, stepping into a role few could have predicted just a few years ago. Western intelligence agencies have confirmed that Pyongyang is shipping millions of artillery shells and short-range missiles to Russia, enough to make a real difference on the front lines in Ukraine. These shipments are not just symbolic, they are changing the dynamics of the conflict. Russia's grinding war of attrition has outpaced its own weapons production, leaving its military in urgent need of fresh supplies. North Korea's vast stockpiles of Soviet-era munitions have become a lifeline, helping Moscow sustain its offensive. These shells and missiles are fully compatible with Russian artillery systems, allowing them to be used immediately on the battlefield, and directly fueling Moscow's war effort in Ukraine. North Korea has also sent advanced weapons such as the KN-23 missile, which has been used to strike deep inside Ukrainian territory. This marks a significant escalation in the type of support Pyongyang is willing to provide. What began as a transactional exchange of arms for resources has evolved into a deeper, more strategic partnership between the two countries. The Kim-Putin summit at Vostochny Cosmodrome made this alliance public, signaling the formation of a new axis of cooperation that could reshape global power dynamics. For Kim Jong-un, this partnership brings international legitimacy and much-needed resources. For Vladimir Putin, it means a steady flow of weapons to keep his military campaign alive. North Korea is no longer just a regional rogue state. It has become a key player in a global conflict, with its decisions now affecting the course of wars far from its own borders. Its factories and arsenals are working around the clock, keeping Russia's war machine running and altering the balance of power in Europe. The world must now reckon with Pyongyang's expanded role, as North Korea's actions reverberate across continents and challenge the existing international order. North Korea's support for Russia is about far more than just sending bullets or artillery shells. This partnership is transforming both nations' fortunes, bringing immense rewards to Pyongyang that go well beyond the battlefield. In exchange for supplying munitions and military hardware, Pyongyang receives vital oil, grain, and hard currency, resources that are desperately needed to keep the country running. These shipments help ease years of crippling international sanctions, providing North Korea with a crucial economic lifeline and allowing its markets to stay stocked and its people fed. This steady flow of resources not only strengthens Kim Jong-un's grip on power, but also keeps his regime afloat during challenging times. It allows him to maintain loyalty among the elite and the military, ensuring his continued dominance over the country. Even more crucially, North Korea is seeking advanced military technology from Russia, satellite, missile, and submarine know-how that could make its nuclear threat far more credible and sophisticated. Access to these technologies could dramatically enhance North Korea's military capabilities, making it a more formidable force on the global stage. The risk is significant. Putin, desperate for arms to fuel his war in Ukraine, may be willing to share military secrets that could fundamentally change the balance of power on the Korean peninsula and beyond. Kim's international isolation is also beginning to break. High-profile summits with Putin and increased diplomatic engagement are boosting his legitimacy and prestige on the world stage, giving him new leverage in global affairs. North Korea's weapons are now being battle-tested in Ukraine, providing invaluable data on their performance against modern Western defenses. This real-world combat experience is something North Korea has never had before. This feedback loop allows Pyongyang to refine its arsenal and tactics, making its military technology more effective and reliable for future conflicts. The Ukraine war has become a proving ground for North Korean arms, accelerating their development and giving Kim's regime a dangerous edge. As a result, Kim's regime is now stronger, smarter, and more dangerous than ever before, emboldened by new resources and battlefield experience. The stakes for regional and global security have never been higher. The world is watching closely, as this alliance threatens to reshape the balance of power in East Asia and beyond. China's approach to the Ukraine war is calculated ambiguity. Officially, Beijing calls for peace and denies sending lethal aid, preserving its global image and economic ties. But beneath this neutrality, China quietly backs Russia, seeing Moscow as a vital partner against US dominance. A weakened Russia would leave China exposed, so Beijing ensures Putin's regime survives. China practices pro-Russian neutrality, offering support without crossing red lines that would trigger Western sanctions. At the UN, China abstains from condemning Russia and criticizes Western sanctions, providing diplomatic cover. Chinese state media echoes Kremlin narratives, shaping global opinion and undermining the West. The strategy helped Russia enough to matter but not enough to provoke retaliation. So far, China's balancing act has worked, sustaining its partner while avoiding direct confrontation. China's economic and technological support is the backbone of Russia's war effort, quietly but powerfully shaping the conflict from behind the scenes. While the world's attention is often focused on the battlefield, it's the flow of resources, technology, and money from China that keeps Russia's war machine running. Since 2022, bilateral trade between China and Russia has soared to record highs. As Western companies pulled out of Russia in response to the invasion of Ukraine, Chinese firms quickly stepped in to fill the gap, supplying everything from consumer goods to industrial equipment. This surge in trade has not only kept Russian shelves stocked, but also provided critical materials for its industries. China is now the largest buyer of Russian oil and gas, sending billions of dollars in hard currency to Moscow. These energy deals are a financial lifeline, giving the Kremlin the funds it needs to pay for weapons, soldiers, and the ongoing war effort. The ruble-yuan trade has become a key pillar of Russia's economic survival. Even more crucially, China exports so-called dual-use goods, items like microchips, advanced machine tools, and drone components that can be used for both civilian and military purposes. These high-tech exports are essential for Russia's defense industry, enabling the production of modern weapons and sophisticated military hardware. Investigations have revealed that Chinese-made components are routinely found inside Russian missiles and drones recovered in Ukraine. These parts are often critical to the functioning of advanced weaponry, highlighting the direct link between Chinese industry and Russia's military capabilities. On the financial front, China helps Russia sidestep Western sanctions by conducting trade in yuan and rubles, rather than dollars or euros. This shields Moscow from the impact of global financial restrictions and allows Russian businesses to keep operating internationally. The creation of this alternative financial network is not just a short-term fix, it's a strategic goal for Beijing and a vital lifeline for Russia. By building new systems outside Western control, both countries are reshaping the global economic order. Thanks to China's support, the impact of Western sanctions on Russia has been blunted. Russian factories continue to operate, and the country's economy has proven far more resilient than many expected, allowing Moscow to sustain a prolonged conflict. US officials now openly describe China as the primary enabler of Russia's military resurgence, warning that Beijing's actions are prolonging the war and undermining international efforts to isolate Moscow. While North Korea may supply Russia with ammunition and basic supplies, it is China that provides the advanced technology, financial resources, and industrial machinery that truly empower Russia's war machine. This support is often subtle, taking place behind closed doors and through complex networks, but its impact is decisive. Without China's backing, Russia's ability to wage a long and costly war would be severely diminished. For China, a prolonged Ukraine war is a strategic windfall. The conflict keeps the US and its allies focused on Europe, stalling the pivot to Asia and freeing Beijing to pursue its ambitions. While Washington arms Ukraine, China modernizes its military and increases pressure on Taiwan. The war strains Western resources and exposes cracks in the alliance. Chinese media uses the conflict to push a narrative of Western decline, resonating in the global South. By positioning itself as a critic of U.S. hegemony, China builds influence among nations wary of the West. The longer the war drags on, the more it accelerates trends in China's favor. A distracted West and a dependent Russia create ideal conditions for Beijing's rise. For China, the Ukraine war is not just a crisis. It's an opportunity to reshape the global order. The stakes are global, and the clock is ticking. Not everyone sees China's support for Russia as a masterstroke. Some experts argue the war has hurt China's economy, strained ties with Europe, and tied Beijing to a risky declining partner. Europe's growing suspicion has accelerated efforts to reduce dependence on China, threatening its export markets. Critics say China's true interest lies in global stability, not chaos, and that the war's lessons, especially Western resolve in Ukraine, may actually deter Beijing from aggression in Taiwan. Rather than simplifying China's strategy, the war has complicated its calculations and exposed new vulnerabilities. Supporting Russia is a high-stakes gamble for both China and North Korea. Pyongyang risks harsher sanctions, military encirclement, and overdependence on a potentially unstable Russia. By depleting its own stockpiles, North Korea may weaken its readiness for conflict at home. For China, the danger is even greater. Secondary sanctions could devastate its economy and accelerate the formation of an anti-China coalition. Beijing's actions have already pushed countries like Japan, South Korea, and Australia closer to the US. Instead of dividing the West, China may be forging a stronger alliance against itself. The risks are real. Missteps could leave both regimes more isolated and vulnerable. The Shadow Alliance is a double-edged sword. The Russia-China-North Korea axis demands a new Western strategy. The West must ensure Ukraine does not lose, sending a message of resolve to Beijing and Pyongyang. Countering indirect support means sanctioning Chinese firms and interdicting North Korean arms shipments without triggering a trade war. Diplomacy is key. The West must engage the global South on its own terms, offering a better vision than Beijing and Moscow. The Ukraine war is now a test of the Western alliance and the international order. The outcome will shape whether the world is ruled by law or by force. Understanding and responding to this new axis is one of the defining challenges of our time.